I always have. I'm a problem solver. Even if it's something small, like, oh my gosh, this hoodie has a stain on it. I'm like, oh my God, type A, create a plan. Like, that's just the type of person I am. I'm like, I need a plan. And so like, if one of my friends is saying, oh, this sucks about this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to ASBSU with this. Let's create a solution. And so I'm a very solution type person.
Hello and welcome to the Get a Student Life podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things student life. I'm your host, Ben Martin. We have Zach, our producer, with us, and our guest, Kennedy Way. Kennedy, thanks for joining us.
Yes, of course.
Awesome. Well, I'm just getting to know you, so can you just start with telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Boise State?
So, it's my first year at Boise State, but I'm a sophomore. I did kind of that running start dual enrollment in high school, so I did 1 year of college. I just knocked out all my prereqs while I was a junior and senior in high school. So I come in as a sophomore this year. I'm a criminal justice major.
Cool.
Kind of still deciding what I want to do after I graduate. I'm in between either going to law school. I would definitely love to be like a criminal prosecutor, something like that.
Cool.
If not, definitely go into policing or something like detective work. That's definitely something I enjoy, especially listening to like true crime, murder, everything all the time. I'm like, I would definitely enjoy something like that.
Amazing. Is that why you started with that major? You were just kind of interested in that from your previous experience?
I've just always have loved everything criminal justice. I come from a family of first responders. So I would always hear like their stories. They would tell me stories and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's interesting. Yeah. And then just the older I got and the more I did things independently, the more I gravitated toward things like that.
Cool.
And so I was definitely like, yeah, I love everything that aligns with this. So I've had criminal justice picked out for a really long time.
Very cool.
And so finding a college with that was really important to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were on your college search, were you kind of looking primarily at that and then looking at
criminal justice? I was kind of looking at political science, but the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't want to be with a major I'm not 100% in love with.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful I'm one of those people who came into college knowing what they want, and I think it's okay to not know what you want to be undeclared and kind of find what you like, because it's very rare to have those moments where you're like, I know exactly what I want to do, and I'm not in a total state of I know exactly what I want to do, but I know what areas I want to study and what areas of life I like.
Yeah, I love that. That's great advice. I've even noticed that in my stage of life when people first, kind of graduate and go out and try to find a job.
Yeah.
A lot of people in their 20s, they do the same kind of thing where they think they even know what they want to do, but you move around like career path is not linear. It kind of goes in waves.
No, seriously, it's not linear at all. And like, even with me, I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with a criminal justice degree, but I know I want to study criminal justice.
Yeah.
And so that was important to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so you're liking it so far? You're in your second semester now officially? Yeah.
I love it. It's so good. I love all the criminal justice classes.
Cool.
They're really cool. Everything along with the major is really cool. And just everything a part of it is really cool. I really enjoy it. Like, it doesn't feel like school. It feels like something I'm enjoying.
That's an amazing feeling.
Feel so much as a chore.
Totally.
As it has in the past.
That's an amazing feeling. That must be so nice because it doesn't feel like work. That's what you're kind of always striving for.
No,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, so tell me a little bit too about your involvement with ASBSU. First of all, can you tell me a little bit more about what ASBSU does for students on campus?
Yeah. So ASBSU is Associated Student Body of Boise State. Okay. It's kind of the student government of Boise State. I've been doing student leadership for 7 years now, so I'm very familiar with it. It's very my mojo. A comfortable space for me to be in is student leadership positions. In ASBSU, we have a Senate side and then we have an assembly side, and we all make one legislation. But the Senate, they represent specific schools of the university. So there's two School of Public Service senators, School of Health senators, and everything along those lines. And then on the assembly side, it's just made up of a few of us. And then we just represent, I'm a first year student representative. Okay. Technically, I'm a sophomore, but it's my first year here. Yeah, so I represent first year students. Then there's an underserved populations representative, which I think is super cool. And then there's the executive branch of ASBSU, government relations officer, president, vice president, academic affairs. officer. And so kind of every single part of Boise State, there is a student representative for that behalf. And I think that's super important in communicating down to students because sometimes we have no idea what adults are talking about. They'll be talking and I'm like, okay. I have no idea what that means. And so I think it's important to have that student translator that kind of like translate it down for us so we understand, and then have that student translator, hey, this is an issue as a student. Can you bring this to those officials and those administrators and kind of address this issue? And that's what we do in ASBSU, is just really address issues, address things, and create bills. Like we just passed a bill recently with the Children's Center for student parents.
Oh, cool.
And so that was a really cool thing that I thought was super important to do, just help that majority of students who are parents, because that's a very real thing in life everywhere, not just in Idaho, not just in Boise. So I think it's good we're on that kind of path and people see those different perspectives. And I always say this, I think meeting people who come from different perspectives and different walks of life is so important because you get to understand them and they get to understand you. You don't have to come from the same place, but you're all joining together to do the same thing. Very cool. I think that's very cool.
I love how you said like translator, like the way that students would communicate with an adult, or like kind of that
seriously,
that more professional tone and how to translate that voice is really interesting. That's a great way to put it. You must feel a lot of fulfillment too from that kind of work.
Yes, I always have. I'm a problem solver. Even if it's something small, like, oh my gosh, this hoodie has a stain on it. I'm like, oh my God, type A, create a plan. Like, that's just the type of person I am. I'm like, I need a plan. And so like, if one of my friends is saying, oh, this sucks about this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to ASBSU with this. Let's create a solution. And so I'm a very solution type person. And so I love being able to be in that position to help different populations of this school.
That's amazing. Yeah. I love, that's really interesting how you've kind of already looked within, you've noticed that you're kind of a problem solver, people helper. And so ASBSU's felt like a good fit for you.
Oh,
in that
absolutely.
way.
Yeah.
For like the everyday student, how does it affect their like experience at Boise State, what ASBSU is doing for them?
ASBSU, I would say that affects everyday students in their everyday life we hear the small things that normal you don't really hear about it. Problems you don't really wonder are a problem. Student financials about the food pantry. We've done a lot of work with the food pantry, prepping Thanksgiving meal kits for families and for students who couldn't go home for Thanksgiving. And so it was important for us to kind of have that there and available for them here, just in case they weren't able to go home for Thanksgiving, because I know there were a lot of students who weren't able to. I was grateful I was able to, because I literally live 6 hours away.
True, yeah.
And I drive my car everywhere. So I just drove up for Thanksgiving and drove back down. But I think that's also important to have that resource available for students here. And we have different committees as well. And so we have a sustainability committee who works on like recycling in the dining halls instead of throwing away all of that waste. We put it into different uses. Like we just got done recycling a bunch of glass and making a bunch of glass straws. And so it's small things like that, but every small step leads to a very bigger picture.
Okay, very cool. I love that. Great. Well, we were talking earlier, but I haven't mentioned on the podcast yet. So you're from Coeur d'Alene originally.
Yes. I was born in Kansas, lived there for 10 years, then moved to Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What brought you to Idaho?
Just a family move. My dad got a job in Coeur d'Alene, and so we all moved up here with him. Cool. So, yeah.
Do you still have extended family back in Kansas?
So all my family's in Kansas mainly. And so they come up twice a year here.
Oh, nice.
For Christmas and summer. But my dad, he's down here a lot for work.
Oh, okay.
He's doing a lot of work in the Capitol or his certain committees or stuff. So he's in Boise a lot. And so it's nice to see him a lot. Yeah.
Cool. Very awesome. Well, so how do you like living in Coeur d'Alene? Has it been it probably feels different enough to live in Boise versus Coeur d'Alene because they're far enough away.
I definitely prefer Boise. In Boise, it's kind of like everybody, no matter what you're into, you can find something you're into in Boise.
Yeah,
like there's something for everybody. Like if you're in like politics and you like politics, love to do it, and like to be involved with it, there's the Capitol. There's so many internships in the Capitol. Totally. There's so many things to do at Boise State, like ASBSU. So me being interested in politics and stuff like that, I've definitely gravitated toward that front. But even if you're interested in art, theater, music, something along those lines, there's something in Boise for you to do.
Yeah, I've felt the same way. I'm always pretty blown away because it's, you know, relatively speaking, compared to somewhere like LA, it's a small city, but it has everything that you could ever want. Like you could go watch a symphony orchestra and then the next day watch a basketball game.
No, seriously,
it's pretty incredible how it has everything.
Yeah.
Outside of the politics, like you mentioned, is there anything else that you've been kind of introduced to by living in Boise specifically?
This is obvious, but I'm just like one of those girls. I love shopping. And so so many places to go shopping in Boise. Yes, totally. But even like if you like to hike or swim or raft or run or walk or do anything like that, there's trails and everything. So I feel like there's everything for somebody in Boise. I don't know. I've always been like, I like doing my own thing. I love hanging out with my friends, but at the end of the day, when I want my alone time, I want my alone time. So I'll go to the gym, and I love working. Okay. And so I've always just liked the satisfaction of working, then making money, then spending your money that you earned. So I like doing that personally, but that's just me.
Where do you like to shop around here?
Oh my gosh, everywhere. Like the mall and then the village and just everything. I'm like, this is so unhealthy for my bank account here.
Yeah, well, a lot of people like myself, I've started getting into Amazon, and that's way more unhealthy.
So awful.
I'm going to try to go to the mall more so I don't
awful.
Sit on my couch and buy everything.
No, seriously.
Yeah. The malls are really cool here though too. I was really impressed with the village when I first came here. Like all the water fountain stuff going on there. It's a cool place to just kind of walk around to. Like you don't even have to shop.
No,
just
really.
Being in that area is really
it's
cool.
Like you can window shop and then just like fantasize about having it.
Totally. Except of course now with In-N-Out, it's a little hard to get in there. Have you been there yet to the In-N-Out?
I have. I hadn't had In-N-Out for like 6 years.
Oh, really?
Because we didn't have one in Coeur d'Alene, and it's not really a Pacific Northwest thing.
Yeah. And
so when they were up here, I was like, okay, I'll go try it. And I like went one night at like 12 a.m. and I was like, it was okay. But and I like texted my friend who's from California. I was like, is this supposed to be like mind blowing? And she's like, it's really if you're in the mood. And I was like, okay, great. I'm glad I'm not just crazy. And
I'm glad I'm not crazy too, because I've noticed the same thing where it's like, this seems a little like for an 8-hour wait that first day. That's crazy to me.
I didn't do that. I was literally in line for maybe 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't.
It's already kind of died down. Yeah. Well, you were there at midnight though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I wasn't blown away
at all. I heard they brought out like a power team for it too from California to make sure that they could deal with the crowds here.
Yeah.
So
they did, which was crazy, but
So back to Boise, do you think you're going to stay here a little bit longer? I mean, obviously it's a little early to be saying so, but you're probably going to stick around.
I'm probably going to stick around a while. I know because I'm debating between law school and policing, detective work, all of that right now. So if I did decide to go the law school route, I'm thinking just U of I Law School. It's in Boise. Yeah, it's easy. Right. The Capitol's here too. That's a really cool resource that I enjoy having here.
Yeah, totally.
Just for the political aspect. So if I did decide to go the law school route, I would do that. I would go to U of I down here. If not, I've talked to some members at the Boise Police Department, and that could be something I could do as well. And so I would stick around and do that or go to law school. Awesome. So I definitely have plans of staying in Boise.
Very cool. So like you've mentioned a couple times now, like kind of the interactions or the ability to have the Capitol right here.
Yeah.
What are some things that an everyday student who's curious about like what they do down there, like what can they go there and learn more about, you know?
Right now it's in the middle of the legislative session.
Okay.
And so there's multiple internships they could learn about there, but also you can go online and just research if there's any internships of any type down at the Capitol.
Okay.
I know a bunch of friends of mine who are in ASBSU have internships at the Capitol who are working with people during the legislative session, which I think is super cool. But even if you didn't want to be on that side, I know there's internships in the governor's office. Obviously, it's a whole interviewing process, and you'd have to get into it. But even just to learn about it. I think it's a cool thing to learn about.
Totally.
And just Idaho has a lot of history down in Boise.
Yeah.
And so I think just to have those resources here is cool.
Yeah, I love that. So what is the legislative session and like what is that season or how long does that last?
The season is definitely January to like March-ish.
Okay.
I use ish very lightly. I don't know a ton about it. It's just kind of going through a bunch of policies, legislative laws, stuff like that. And so just going through all of that, it's just the season of winter, especially. I was thinking about this. I was like, I'm very eager for this, but I think it'll be an interesting thing that the presidential election will be coming up in November as well.
Yeah.
So I'm eager to see what that holds as well. I remember for ASBSU, the Government Relations Committee hosted a Boise mayoral debate here at Boise State.
Right, yeah, I saw
We
that.
hosted that at the Sub in October, I think.
Yep.
That was a really cool thing as well.
Super
to
cool.
go to the mayoral debate, because just hear about what kind of things are issues in Boise and in Idaho. It's interesting to hear about. And that was also a cool thing to go and host and meet the candidates and kind of hear their aspect and their thoughts on these issues.
Yeah, that was super interesting. I stumbled across that too because I might be misquoting this, but they don't often have public debates for mayoral elections like
I know.
right?
That's
so that
what
was
I
really
was thinking
cool
as well, yeah.
Yeah, I totally resonate with what you said about how it kind of helped me learn about more of what problems the community is facing and how certain, opinions would tackle those.
Exactly.
That was super interesting.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So yeah, it does seem like there's a lot of interesting, and on top of like the internships and stuff, you could always go in and kind of watch some of these legislative sessions, right? Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that is a major perk to living in Boise. I have to remind myself a lot about that too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity to make a big difference for the whole state because that capital is right there.
Yeah.
And like you said, all these internships and things you can get involved with.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Well, outside of politics and shopping, is there any other kind of hobbies or things that you've been picking up at Boise State?
I don't know. I'm not
making coffee.
Of course. I'm in a sorority. I'm in Phi Mu. I really enjoy that. I definitely didn't want to go into a college where it was like, yeah, sorority, let's party, all of that. I was like, no, that's not my thing. And so I really enjoyed Boise for that aspect as well, because there's no sorority houses, so you're not obligated to stay with your sorority sisters and live with them, because that was definitely like an ultimatum for me. I was like, I don't want to live with them. That's too much.
That's
I'm like, just like, when I'm home, I just want to chill, and I don't want to like go out and party every weekend. I was like, that's not my thing. I'm not that type of person. And so that was definitely a good thing for me, that Boise doesn't have like a super intense Greek life.
Yeah.
It has Greek life here at Boise State, but it's not that like intensive competition Greek life. It's just like, we're all friends. We all hang out. We all do our sorority events and stuff, but it's not shoved down your throat as much as it is at other universities.
That's cool. So you're able to get involved without kind of it taking up a lot of your time, or like you said, if you're not in the mood to kind of go out every weekend like that.
Exactly. That was something that was super important to me in choosing a sorority.
Yeah. I've noticed that about Boise State too. I never got involved with that kind of Greek life.
Right.
But I had a lot of friends that were involved with it, and they kind of said the same thing of, I've been to other colleges where I had to live in the house and I had to do these things, but I don't have to deal with that here, and it's so nice. So that seems like a big perk.
Definitely did not want to do something like that going into college.
Yeah. So what's your are you living on campus now, or
I'm on campus this year. I'm in University Suites. Cool. So it's like an apartment type, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, kitchen, laundry room, living room. I definitely wanted a kitchen coming down to Boise State. I love cooking, and I'm kind of a picky eater, so I was like, I want to just be able to control what I eat in case the dining hall doesn't have something I want.
Okay, yeah, totally.
But I just love cooking in general. So that was something I definitely knew I wanted. And then just the ability to be able to do my own laundry at my own place. That was something huge. I wanted as well. And the privacy of having my own bedroom. That was important to me as well.
Yeah.
It's just like, I want to wind down. I want my own space. Like, I know I'm a very territorial person. And so, like, my stuff is my stuff, and I just want it in my own place.
Did you know your roommates ahead of time, or were you kind of placed in a portal? Okay.
Yeah.
How are you liking them so far? Has it been good?
I think we all have a good balance of doing our own thing.
Yeah.
And so when we're all home, we kind of just do our own thing.
Yeah.
And then when we're out during the day, we do our own thing again. And so I think that's just a really good balance of us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And is this your first time living on your own kind of independently?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what have you been learning so far? What are some of the biggest lessons you got from that?
Both of my parents so my mom's a travel nurse.
Okay.
She travels a lot for work. She was definitely gone a lot at the time. And then my dad just plainly travels a lot for work.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I was very, very used to being on my own and like cooking for myself, doing my own laundry, stuff like that. So it wasn't really an adjustment to me, and it wasn't really a change to me. I was very used to being on my own, very used to doing my own thing. And so it wasn't really anything weird to me at all.
Awesome. That's nice to have that kind of upper hand too with other people, because I've known a lot of people, myself included, when I first moved out. I was like, what kind of soap do I buy? Like, I don't even know how to shop for myself. So that's nice to have the upper hand. Do you get like a lot of questions from your roommates or other people who are kind of new to living on their own?
No, not as much as I think everybody kind of has a sense of what it's like to be on their own, but other people handle it differently.
Right. Yeah.
Other people are like, oh, I need to call my mom every single day. I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, I don't want to talk to my parents every single day. Like, I have a group chat with my parents, and we'll send pictures back and forth, like just like Snapchats.
Yeah.
My friends are like, that's so funny that you do that with your parents.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're kind of just telling each other we're alive.
Yeah.
And so they don't have to call or text. I'm alive. I sent you a picture of me. That's like your satisfaction that I'm doing okay.
So you're more of a Snapchatter texter than a caller for the most part?
Yeah. My dad likes to call. He just likes to talk.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was with my friend last night, and he called us, and he's like, what should I get for dinner? And I was like, I don't know.
I'm not there.
I was like, we're going into the store right now. And he's like, okay, what should I have for dinner? And I was like, I don't know. Yeah. I was like, pick something.
Yeah. Yeah. He probably misses you. I used to get those calls all the time.
I'm definitely a daddy's girl. Yeah. And so I know he definitely misses me a lot. But his friends were like, are you nervous for Kennedy to live on her own? And he was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, he was like, she literally does her own thing now. So I know she's going to do just fine on her own. And I was like, yeah.
That's great that he had that confidence in you too. Yeah. Because that probably helps a lot too when you moved. You weren't so nervous to move out on your own from that too. Yeah, if there's anything else you'd want to talk about, I've just got one more question for you otherwise. But if there's anything else you wanted to touch on while we're here in front of the mics, that'd be great.
I don't think so.
Okay, awesome. Well, my last question for you, we ask all of our guests this, is if you had one piece of advice for the students here at Boise State and after they graduate, what would that advice be for them?
One piece of advice that I would carry along to other people is know that it's okay to not know what you want to do.
Love
and
that.
Know that it's okay if you don't know what you want to do at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year. It's okay to not be okay in certain instances. Yes, it's important to have a plan, but also, yes, it's important to let yourself kind of gravitate towards what you want to do and never force anything upon yourself. Like, never force yourself to love something, never force yourself to hate something, and kind of just let yourself naturally gravitate in a way that you want your life to go.
That's really great advice. That's super interesting. I haven't heard it that way yet, where you naturally gravitate towards something. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Again, thanks for coming to share your story. Thank you, Zach, for helping produce this episode. And thank you to the library for letting us use this new amazing sound studio. We're really lucky to be able to use this space. So.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Broncos, for listening. Go Broncos, and go get yourself a student life.
Don't forget to like this video and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes with all the exciting guests we have coming up. We love hearing your stories and perspectives, so if you have one to share or you know of someone who you think would make a great guest on the podcast, reach out to us via the Student Life website, email studentlife@boisestate.edu, or DM us on Instagram. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Boise State Student Life. Thanks for listening. Now go get a student life.